Yeah, please, please.
I've shared the screen, sir.
So we'll start with the prayer. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, please. All listen. Suprabhatam, Suswagatam to all of you. Let us start with our prayer. Yenaksharasamaamnayam
Samam
Adhigamya Maheshwarat
Adhigamya
अधिगम्य
Maheshwara
महेश्वरात्
Krishnang Vyakaranang Proktam
Krishnam
कृष्णव्याकरणं
Vyakaranam
प्रोक्तम्
Proktam
Tasmai Paninaye Namaha.
Tasmai
तस्मै
Paninaye
पाणिनये
Namaha.
Thank you. So today's our topic is historical linguistics, history of linguistics. As we are doing Paninian linguistics, we are trying to give the parallels how linguistics developed, modern linguistics, and how Panini had established our Indian linguistics. In what way they are connected, to what extent it is linguistics, to what extent it is a grammar also. How grammar is linguistics. So yesterday I had explained the grammar is always written for a language, whereas linguistics for any language, about a language. But Panini's grammar is about a language, not only Sanskrit language. That is what is our experience, which that's what we are here to understand and share how Panini's grammar is linguistics. So yesterday we had given little explanations about the use of word Vyakarana, which means Vyakriyanti Shabda. The Shabdas for Sanskrit grammar means both sound, word, sentence, and meaning, everything. So that's why it is called Shabdanusasana. Now, when you come to linguistics, how linguistics began, just look at Panini did this or worked out the analysis of the language in 5th century BC. But the linguistics, as we know today, began with this as a comparative linguistics. The beginning of linguistics actually started with Sir William Jones, the former Supreme Court judge of Calcutta. In 1786, he presented a paper where first he made a statement that the Sanskrit language, whatever be its antiquity, look at the words always, whatever be its antiquity, is of a wonderful structure. First person, first scholar to make a statement that Sanskrit has a wonderful structure, more perfect than Greek, more copious than the Latin, and more exquisitely refined than either. Yet, bearing to both of them a stronger affinity. The word should be noted, stronger affinity, both in roots of verbs and forms of grammar, than could be possibly have been produced by accident. So strong indeed that no philologer could examine them all three without believing them to have sprung from some common source. So there are two main lines or the you can statement. One is it has a wonderful structure. It has a close affinity with the Greek and Latin, and they must have sprung from some common source. 3 points which are very important for us. So he gave the three, points that took up the linguistic studies. The comparative linguistics, as we know, actually it came see that After this statement only, Sanskrit was recognized as a world language similar to Greek and Latin because he was an expert both in Greek and Latin, Sir William Jones. Sir William Jones was not only the Chief Justice of Calcutta, he was more interested in Indian studies. So he established the Ascetic Society of Calcutta. What we know today, Ascetic Society, it was established by him. The purpose was to preserve the Sanskrit text. So he collected manuscripts and preserved them. Because after making a study, comparative, he found that Sanskrit language should be preserved and Sanskrit language should be studied. And he is the first to translate Sakuntalam, Abhigyana Sakuntalam of Kalidasa. So he made such a statement where 3 points helped us. That is, one, he is the first person to understand Sanskrit language as it has a wonderful structure. It is a structured language. Secondly, he said it has a closer affinity with Greek and Latin. And third is, they must have sprung from some common source. These 3 points gave a lot of boost for the development of linguistics. As you know, the structure, what is the structure, how it is a structure, it took up later on. So before that, so this is, you see, 1786. So before that, there was no linguistics or what linguistics term or comparative linguistics, what we know today. Actually, earlier it was known as comparative philology. Comparative philology is used in, actually in German, it means the comparative literature. First, the term philology was used for comparing the languages in Germany terms. But when it developed, or the term linguistic, it came later. That also I will talk today, how, when it came into be used. So this particular statement came in 1780, that means 18th century. So before that, what happened? So before that, before the linguistics began, so what we had? So naturally, the grammars, the traditional grammars. Each language has its own grammar, whether Sanskrit, Greek, or Latin. Now, among the traditional grammars, most important, the most ancient are the Greek grammar, which is called Techne Grammatike. I was giving yesterday the meaning of grammar actually. The grammar, Grammatike, Techne, Grammatike, Techne, it is means the art of letters, whereas our Vyakarana means the analysis of the words. So first grammar book was Techne Grammatike by Dionysius Thrax in 200 BC. Can you go to that, Deepa, please? The slide. Traditional grammar, Kuncha. Yes, next. No, traditional grammar, please. Anyway, we'll give that. I'll just read out. Greek grammar, Techne Grammatica by Dionysius Thrax in 200 BC. Latin grammar, it is called De Lingua.
Sorry, so I don't seem to have that slide.
Okay. I'll just read out. De Lingua Latina will be sent later on. We'll be sending De Lingua Latina by Barrow in 227 BC. Nirukta by Yaska 600 BC. Astadhyay by Panini 500 BC. And Sabdanusasana by Siddha Hemachandra, that is 1082 to 1172 AD. If you look at the history, that the grammatical studies began in India with the analysis of words, which he called the Nirukta Yaska, which is famous text to talk about the division of words. First he made, and then Panini, 5th century BC. Then we get Greek grammar, 200 BC, and Latin grammar, 227, second 116 within that. If you look at this grammar, this order, so what we find, the first analysis of language or words, what Nirukta establishes. So it is first Nirukta divides the words into nama means noun, akhyata means verb, namakhyata, upasarga, the prefixes, and nipatas, the particles. The first time the language was divided into four parts of speech as we know today, the four categories of words which we are using in our languages. That is nama, noun we call, akhyata, we mean this, yes, verb, upasarga, prefixes, and nipatas. So first division of words was done in Nirukta. But doesn't mean that it started with Nirukta. The first division of words we get in the Vedas. When we will come to that, we will try to, I will give that shloka, Chatvari Srunga Traya Ashwapada Dve Sirse Saptahasta Sahasva Tridha Baddho Vrushabharoroviti Martyang A Vivesha. So that is a division of words into what is language. I think that shloka also I will give you that it came to my mind. Chatvari Srunga. That it is the language is conceived as a bull. The sound is conceived as a bull. Bull means Vrishava. The Vrishava entered to this earth in the form of sound. So Sabda Vrishava. That's why we say Sabda means which makes, the Vrishava makes a louder sound. So what is that language? The language which entered in the form of a sound, it has four horn, Chatvari Srunga. Four horn means four parts of speech. What? Yaska, made as Nama, Akhyata, Upasarga, Nipata. Chatvari Srunga, Traya Ashwapada. It has 3 feet on which it stands, the Vrishava. What are the 3 feet? One is the 3 times, past, present, and future. Look at the language that we speak. It is controlled, it is here, you can see, Chatvari, so Sabda Vrishavaha, Chatvari Srunga, Traya Asya Pada. We'll little correct there. Traya Asya Pada means it has 3 feet on which the Vrishava stands. That is 3 times, past, present, and future. Dve Sirse. Sirsa means head. It has 2 heads. So one is what we call, so that is first the language we speak or we know. It has 2 forms. First, it is in the Veda. It is given that there are 2 types of language. What is that? So what we say, what we are using, whether it is conventional or it is eternal, nitya or karya. A language should be studied, can be understood. First, as it is a nitya or it is a karya. So Dve Sirse, Sapta Hasta Sahasya, 7 hands. 7 hands means it is 7 vibhaktis. Sapta Hasta Sahasya. So when we describe a language, this is the form of language that is quoted in the Veda. It has been brought or referred by Patanjali in his Mahabhashya. So most of the basic concepts are taken by Patanjali and put in Mahabhashya, where he explains what grammar means, what means grammar in or sabda or say bhasa, according to our speech in the Vedas. So when we'll come to that, we'll see. So these are the traditional grammars which first concentrated on the analysis of language of their particular time. So Panini wrote grammar of his time preceding, though he didn't, and the language when it was spoken, the colloquial language, what we call the Sanskrit, the classical Sanskrit. So this was the grammatical tradition first existed before any linguistic study was made. So now this linguistic study began with the statement of only with Sir William Jones. So Sir William Jones first made this statement that the Sanskrit has a structure, it has a wonderful structure. So and then it has a close affinity with the Greek and Latin, and it is also, it has all these three must have come, or they must have a common source. So these things gave rise to this is, and this when he made this statement, the scholars like Frederick Schlegel and Franz Bopp, first, it is the first French Bopp who first took up this wonderful structure and close affinity idea and started, he wrote a book that is a comparative study of verbal roots of Sanskrit, Greek, German, and also the other languages which are every Persian. What he did that he first took up the verbal roots of all these languages to show what kind of affinity it has or they have. Affinity means close relation. So it is Bob first, he is called the father of comparative linguistics. First, he made a statement, he took up that in 1889, though he translated Nolopakchana, they read all the Sanskrit text and then only they wrote. And he made a comparative study and showed that, and it is though originally written in German, later on it has been used in, translated into English. Right? These 3 points. So it is the beginning of the linguistic study, which is known as the comparative study, because first the languages of Greek, Latin, and Sanskrit mainly were verbal roots were taken for comparing them, showing they are close, how they are both form in meaning. So I will be also giving examples in due course. Next slide, please. So this is what the comparative linguistics, when we took it. Now, what is this comparative linguistics? How it was started first? I think this will come to later, please. Can you go to comparative linguistics? You just show that comparative linguistics. Next slide, Deepa, comparative linguistics. Now in comparative linguistics, what is there? How you compare, on what basis? So there are two bases. That is, one is resemblances of vocabulary. There mean the words which you are using in different languages, they appear to be same or similar. Another resemblances of grammatical structure, that how the words are used in a language. So always see structure means how it is used, the way it is used. Whereas vocabulary means only the word meaning. Grammar means when it is used, how it is used, the form, the changes. So this is called the grammatical structure. We will be explaining more. So in this structure, let us see now what is the resemblance of vocabularies. Next slide, please. Next slide, you see that little ILG. Now these vocabularies, basically, all we should know when the vocabularies are, I think, this is first. Now Sanskrit, no, before that, little that, before, first is, when the vocabularies are common, which vocabularies we compare? The vocabularies which are common to all languages. So when you made a comparative study, which word you should complete or compare? So according to this linguist or comparative linguistics, the comparison is made basically with words which are common to all languages. Now, which words are common to all languages? Because there are many vocabularies in every language. Then how do you select? So languages are the words which are common to almost all languages or group of languages. That becomes, they are classified or say divided or say known as kinship term. Kinship means our relative terms when we compare. Look at the Sanskrit bhratar, Greek frater, Latin frater. OHG, Old High German, brother, modern German bruder, Gothic brother, brother, and Anglo-Saxon brother and English brother. The word brother of English is coming related to brother Anglo-Saxon. This is given in chronological order. Sanskrit, Greek, Latin, 401. Then when it comes to Germanic family, a Germanic group, the word th become the, and how ph or bh become bh. This is how difference is there. We will try to see. Take some numerical terms. Numerical terms, because every language has numericals, the numbers, the sankhya. Take one example, Sanskrit dasa, Greek deka, Latin desem, Old High German sen, Modern German zehn, Gothic taihum, Anglo-Saxon 10, English 10. Take another word where our Russian friend is there, he will correct us. Sanskrit dvi, that means two, Greek duo, Russian duo, English two. Sanskrit three, which means three, Greek threis, Latin tres, Russian three, English three. Now take some body parts, which are again original to a language. The word dontas. Dontas means Sanskrit dantas, Greek odontas, Latin dent, which English has taken as dental. So English has mostly borrowed words from Latin and Greek. So you get dental, and Modern German san, Gothic tanthus, Anglo-Saxon tooth, English tooth. You can see the change of sounds also in sequence. Then we have this quality balam. Actually, we are giving the first word as the pre-language or the pre-stage. What do you call the prehistory? Balam. Sanskrit balam, strength. Old Slavic, which Russia belongs to this family, Slavic family. It is Borli, and Latin devilis. Next, please. Next. So then comes to verb. So verbal roots are supposed to be the origin of, root is the origin always of a particular thing. So the verbal root, which was used by Bob as the basis of comparison between Sanskrit lit, how he took, now the examples given are Sanskrit dadhami, Greek didomi, Sanskrit bodhami, Greek pyothomai, Old High German biotam, Modern German bieten, Gothic buden, as Anglo-Saxon biodan, English bit. A common verb we know asti, Sanskrit is, Greek esti, Latin est, Russian jest, or how they pronounce est, that our friend will tell, English is. If you look at this, so next please. So these are the basic vocabularies of a language. The basic vocabularies of a language are the body parts, the numerals, the kinship terms, as well as the verbal roots. These are the basic vocabularies called of a language. And these basic vocabularies, were taken as the, the basis of grouping languages. The comparative linguistics, the contribution of comparative linguistics is the formation of family of languages. Whatever we know, Indo-European, Indo-Aryan, say Tibeto-Burma, whatever classes of language, the families we know today, it was the contribution of the comparative philology, which gave us the concept of families of languages. And these families of languages were considered on the basis of these 5 basic vocabularies. One is the kinship term, another is the numbers, another is the body parts, another is the verbal, the verbal roots. So those languages which are common with these aspects were considered to be one family. So on that basis, our Indo-Aryan family was formed on the basis of the same condition. Though people say we are different or who is independent, that is a matter of personal judgment, but principally, on the base of law or the that is linguistic theory or linguistic discipline, that languages having these 5 types of vocabulary can be considered as forming a group or a family of languages. Okay, so now we'll go, let us see. So this is what the comparative philology, which deals with the family of, which gave, or which the outcome was the only to get the families of languages. There are around 21 families of the languages in the world, which have been noted in the different books. Any book you read in linguistics, you will find that comparative linguistics, that there are 21 form of family, 21 families, like Indo-European, Indo-Aryan, Indo-Germanic. So like that, you will get that. So next, so what is this is called the comparative philology, which took place. The whole 18th century was full of comparative studies. Now, when you come to this, uh, yes, next, please. This Bloomfield. So now look at this. What we tell is a modern linguistics. Why it is modern linguistics? How does it differ from the comparative linguistics? So as we see, we saw that in comparative linguistics, we are simply comparing the forms, vocabularies, and some grammatical feature like verbal forms, and vocabularies like as I mentioned earlier. But it was not enough, though families were made. It was based on only vocabulary as well as some grammatical forms. But in language, there are so many things. It is not only the vocabulary. When you use a sentence, how you use a sentence, what is a sentence, we are not aware of it. So every grammar has dealt grammar in their own way. But when we come to study the languages and compare, the vocabularies are not enough. But when you talk of grammar also, grammar has so many aspects. So that is what the basic question was raised by the linguists of the later time. So they wanted to know what is a language. Suppose we talk of Sanskrit or Greek and Latin, we are simply comparing certain vocabularies. But that is not enough for the languages. Then how to know how many vocabularies are there, how many, what is the grammar? Unless you know a language, how can you compare just by taking some vocabulary? So that is a common issue always for us. You know, in India, I don't know other places, our many leaders, political leaders, they are leaders because they know sometimes many languages. And they claim, and it is always media and in news you will find, a great linguist. Our former Prime Minister was, Narasimha Rao ji. He was known as a great linguist because he knew many languages. So always people think those who speak more than one language, they are good linguists. They are a linguist, great linguist, knowing languages. So then what is a linguist? Why then you study? Everybody can know the language more than one. So everybody is a linguist. Then why you go get the degree PhD only? Then you are called a linguist or you are known as a linguist. So linguist is different from, or a linguistics different from the knowing that I told you. The linguistics means it is a science of language. Linguistics means to know about the language, not just knowing the language. Always we have two things in mind. One is we know the language, but many of us, we do not know about the language. You may be knowing, speaking more than one language, maybe 10, 15, 20, whatever number, but still you do not know about a language. You do not know about your language because you do not know how many sentences are there, how you are using sentences, what is a sentence. So these things are when you ask, then they will say, no, I don't know. So a linguist always one who knows about a language. He may be knowing one language, but if he knows about a language, he is a linguist. But those who know more than one languages without knowing about them, they are called polyglots. Poly means many, glot means also language. So polyglot means those who know many languages. Our leaders, politicians, they speak more than, so they are called linguists, but in true sense, they are not linguists, they are only polyglots. Whereas those who study one language, whether it is Sanskrit, Tamil, Greek, anybody studies one language, he is called a linguist. That's why we should make a difference between a polyglot and linguist. Now, so the question is, when you study a language, where do you start? How to study? Though grammar was written in its own way, now linguistics wanted to discuss or say, want to know about a language. What do you know about? About means what? Where do you start? How to know about a language? So this was first was the, you know, you can say complaint or some suggestion. There was some discussion that how to proceed, how to describe a language completely, perfectly. It is not mere vocabulary. So we have to understand the grammar. We have to understand the structure. Whenever you come to structure, it is the rules. It is the grammar. So when you come to structure, it is grammar. When you say affinity, it can be vocabulary or grammar. So grammar was considered to be important, which were developed by traditional grammars in their own way. But linguistics wants to unite all the languages. What grammar we follow, how communication takes place between different groups of languages or speakers. Even you are a German or French or a Russian or a Indian, how you communicate? What do you know? So this was what first. So when it started, actually these are the three developments you can see. 1933 only, Bloomfield wrote a language called wrote a book called Language, in which he gives a statement. This grammar, this grammar means, here it is a quote from his introduction, page 11. This grammar, that is Panini's grammar, which dates from somewhere around, according to him, 350 to 250 BC, is one of the greatest monuments of human intelligence. It describes with the minutest detail every inflection, derivation, and composition, and every syntactic usage of its author's speech, that is Sanskrit. So this, you look at this. So first time he brought this into, knowledge, into the whole linguistic studies, that this is a language. It is called a greatest monument human intelligence. What is a greatest monument? Why it is a greatest monument? Because he gives that it describes with minutest detail. A detailed analysis is done by Panini. In what aspect? Every inflection. How a word is used. How many forms are there in a word? Derivation. So derivation means how a word is derived from another word. So yesterday we had the sentences, no? That is what I gave you the sentences, the second group. Rama gacchati, Dasarati gacchati, Dhruvam gacchati. What is the relation between them? How Rama is substituted by Dasarathi, Sitapatihi, Shasakaha. So these words which were given in the same place, they represent one category. They represent one category. What is their relation? If you dig Dasarathi, it is related to Dasaratha. So from Dasaratha, we get Dasarathi. So Dasarathi is the son of Dasaratha, who is Rama. So what is the relation between Rama and Dasarathi? So when you come, there are words used in our languages, which you will find most of them are derived from one or the other. The words generally we believe that people say, you have borrowed, every language borrowed from, there is a borrowing, there is a limit. Not all words are borrowed. Always you should know, in a language, all words are not borrowed. Many words are derived from its own forms. This is called derivation. Why I brought this? Because derivation means when you get one word from another word. So this or that means in language, the words are more produced or generated from one source to the other source. Grammar tells us how which word comes from where, how we are able to use. Similarly, when you say Sitapati, it represents a compound. Yesterday, Bhaskar was asking, no, we have taken only the categories, that is, which are the complete words or single words, So all represent one category of words, what we known as noun. They are all nouns. That is why we are not giving the Vigraha Vakya here. They are taken as the unit of word, one unit. Right? We'll be again explain. This is called these words are called the derived words. This is called the derivation. How in a language we derive one word from the other word, so that this process of derivation takes care of it. Okay, so go back. So that is what first statement made by gives that minute distal every inflection. Inflection means, again we will be also explaining, we will be coming to inflection, derivation and composition, and every syntactic uses of its author's speech. So this was the statement made by first recognized or highlighted by Bloomfield. The next paragraph also he made a statement that Indian grammar presented to European eyes. These were his words. I am not, it is not my words. For the first time, a complete and accurate description of a language, based not upon the theory but upon observation. Because what was used was observed by Panini, and Panini made sutras to explain them and to justify what is spoken by the people are grammatical, means correct. Look here, we should remember, we should know the Panini did not stop Sanskrit language, nor Panini created the language. Panini only described the language that was spoken by all. So it is more descriptive but not prescriptive, as we understand in English grammar and other things. So many people say Panini's grammar. Not at all. If you don't know the language, you cannot understand Panini. So Prayoga is first. He observed the changes, then based on the observation, he made the rules. That how he did, we'll be seeing that. So this is the second is, he made that it is a complete and accurate description of a language, not Sanskrit alone. But though he has used it of a language based not upon the theory but upon observation. So here also comes whether people question sometimes whether Panini has a theory or not. Some people say Panini had no theory. If you don't have a theory, then why you go to make a code and say that, okay, these are the sound system, sounds come from here and there. Otherwise, why you should tell? So their question, it's a debatable discussion, how theory means, what theory means. So according in the beginning, but this was in 1933, who made changes later on, who made his own statements, but upon observation. Moreover, the discovery of Sanskrit disclosed the possibility of a comparative study of languages. So Panini gives a formula or gave the base or laid the foundation for the comparative study of in true sense, not just mere vocabularies. Panini does not talk of vocabularies, he talks only grammatical structure. Panini's only grammatical structures, that is how sounds are changed, when they are changed, how they are changed. So these are the basic what we need in a language. Whether you will call it a theory or observation, it is a matter of our understanding. But it was first Bloomfield who made a statement in the first book of English, that is language. He first wrote this book. He is also considered to be a founder of modern linguistics. So he made this statement in his book. So those who have got this Panini Subramanian's book, Paninian Linguistics, they will get that also some extent. But always read Bloomfield in the beginning, how he made this analysis. He wrote this book based on only Ashtadhyayi, and always taking Ashtadhyayi together, and he established that the method of analysis or the grammatical structure of Panini, described by Panini, how it goes in and how it helped to development of linguistics. Next, please. So this was the first statement. The next, what we get is, so when you come to 1965, by that time, he is called the founder or the originator of the transformation of genetic grammar, which everybody is very interested and very keen to know what is transformation genetic grammar. And in his book 1965, that is called the Aspects of the Theory of Syntax, which he wrote in 1965. There, while talking of genetic grammar, he made, and he has referred, it is in his book, I think page 5, Aspects of the Theories of Grammar. theory of grammar. Yeah, theories of, sorry, syntax. I'm sorry. Theories of syntax, aspects of the theories of syntax, 1965. What is more, it seems that even Panini's grammar can be interpreted as a fragment of such a generative grammar, in essentially the contemporary sense of this term. It's a concept of genetic grammar which he wrote or which he tried to explain in Syntax 1965. He has first acknowledged that it is not more mine. If you read his book, later also he has always referred to Panini. So it is because of Chomsky, Panini was given more importance and studies went on, or see, it's still going on in the West in a vigorous manner. More seriously, people are studying now, and particularly Professor Cardona is bringing out some 7, 8 volumes on different aspects of Paninian studies in comparison to modern linguistics. So he has given, first volume has come, Introduction to Panini's Grammar, Ashtadhyayi, it is by Cardona, where you will get the detailed history of the Paninian studies. Then he brings phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, even accentuation, all that aspects of language have been whatever Chomsky is trying to establish. He has brought out in volumes based on Panini's grammar. So you will get all are, I mean, now some 2, 3 volumes have come published by Motilal Banaras Das, but these are available also online. So this is what the Chomsky. So that is, so now between 33 to 65, you get this change that Panini has been recognized by the linguist, none other than Chomsky, who is considered to be the father of now generative grammar, transpersonal generative grammar. No doubt, he has done a marvelous work, great revolution he has brought to the. But thanks, because of his approach to language, we are able to recognize the potential of Panini's grammar. Otherwise, Australia was not studied. As we know, nobody reads grammar, and particularly Sanskrit grammar, nobody reads. Particularly, Australia was not known. People read only commentaries. Siddhanta Kaumudi is popular in all over the world, in all universities. But no, nobody knows what Panini did. So we are now in our course, we will try to take only Panini's Ashtadhyayi Sutras, not any commentary, right? So we will be trying to what Panini did, how he made this formation, how he made the coding will be our main objective. Now you see, within this, what happens? So Bloomfield wrote in 1933 about the analysis. But though these people or these scholars have established the link between Panini from this structure to even generative grammar, how it is structured, how it is generated. Same Panini's grammar represent both, whether it is structural, whether it is generative, it has all the potential to explain the analysis or to analyze the meanings of the sentences, the structure of sentences in a systematic manner, for which it is a greatest monument. Why? Because you cannot, even that is why, what is the proof? What is the our evidence that today only computer is accepting Sanskrit language and is using based on Panini's grammar. The whole Ashtadhyayi is now in computer. It is now fed. So any word in Sanskrit, if you want to know its structure, the computer will tell you how many rules are used to derive this word. Any Sanskrit word and its structure. If you want to know, you go to, there is one website, there is one, what do you call that, one tablet is made. It's called Sangsadhani by Professor Amba Kulkarni, the head of the Department of Sanskrit, our Hyderabad University, Central University of Hyderabad, which will show you, which will tell you that all things that is, they are all words used in Sanskrit language in all forms. You can see them in computer. Will give you, ask any word to computer, computer will give you its derivation with all rules of Panini only. And I have already contacted to her in February, in the last month. She has agreed to take 2 classes on computational linguistics to explain you how Ashtadhyayi works with computer. So this is the systematic or system or hard transpersonal generative, how it is now evidence from the computational linguistics. Computational linguistics mostly developed because of Panini's grammar. Well, if you go to Kanpur IIT, they started, how computation is simple for Sanskrit language that we should know. It is not that I am telling you should read Sanskrit. It is up to you what you want to know and how we want to do our, purify our knowledge. Okay, so the Professor Amba Kulkarni, Central University, he has developed Sansadhani. If you go to website, you will ask Sansadhani, you can see that. And when she gives you lecture, you will be able to more clear, clarify, and understand. Okay, but now, when these people are analyzing the language, so they are actually not the father of modern linguistics. I told you, Bloomfield is the founder, but he is not the father. So there is a father always, who is the source of all this generation thing. Now, actually, if you go to this father of modern linguistics, is called, I think, Ferdinand D Sawyer. Actually, he is known as a great linguist. He is a French linguist. Ferdinand D Sawyer, actually, he was a French scholar. He was taking classes on language, comparative philology, and he is the first person to break the ice how to study a language. So comparative studies, you are making only comparison based on vocabularies and some grammatical feature, but we have to study one language completely. How to study a language completely. So he was the first person to talk about this. Ferdinand de Saussure is called actually the father of modern linguistics. It was in the 1881 or 82, 86. That is the end of the century. So he was only giving lectures to his students in French. And all that analysis he made, it was really before his book was published. He passed away, but all his notes taken by his students were first published in French in 1886 sometime. I will give you reference, you will get in our books, whatever I have given, whether it is language, whether it is Paninian, all have, there is no language linguistics without Saussure. So he first brought a change in the thinking process. He told to study a language completely. How to study it? Where do you start? So this was his first person to think more seriously and methodically, or they call theoretically, that language to study. So he first made, which language you study, you want to study. Already we have told you, Chattari Srunga, we had told, no, we have 4 parts of it, but there are 2 words or 2 sounds which are called Nitya or Karya. Nitya means which is eternal, Karya means which is conventional or man-made, we have decided. So language has 2 forms. First, in linguistics, first he brought this idea that when you study language, which language you want to study? Language you speak or language you know or think. Because before you speak, you have a language in your mind. Before you think, can you speak? So the question is, he first made in linguistics, not in grammar. I will be trying to do that. In linguistics, first he brought this idea that the language we know has 2 forms. One language we know, that is our eternal language, what we call Nitya, what is in your mind. And the language you speak, the spoken language, which is called Karya in our traditional. So Nitya and Karya, the natural and conventional distinction was made by only first the Saussure, who said that language should be looked at 2 angles. This was established. Why I am telling? Because this was established. So Panini's grammar began only with this. That is, we took our relations between sound and meaning, I told you in the first class, was established by our tradition as Nitya. So meaning is always the internal language, the Nitya, which is always present everywhere in every form. And spoken language only differs. Same language has different forms. You speak differently. That is why I think in the first class we told the sentences we took That when we have number of sentences from different languages, what we find, they are one, they have all one meaning, but they have different forms. So this concept of langue, so this he gives the name langue and parole. It is not language, langue. G you have to take out, Deepa. Language, it is not language, it is langue. Langue. AG you please delete. Langue, this is a French word. Langue, first he made the difference between langue and parole. Langue refers to our Nitya Sabda, that is eternal. Parole refers to our Prayoga, that is performance. So these two words were taken by Chomsky later to say for langue, he used the word competence. For Nitya, he took as competence. And for parole, he used the word performance, because coming down to make more understanding to the people. So he says prayoga. What do we say? Prayoga, it is parole. For Saussure, for Chomsky, it is performance. Okay. So anyway, the language which is used by anybody, it has always two stages. One, the knowledge of the language, what we call the langue, or what we call the nitya, and what the language when you use, it becomes performance. No, ulta. Nitya is competence. Along with Nitya, you give competence. Prayoga is, so performance is parole for Chomsky. Parole is performance. Okay. Anyway, so this is what the relation. You can look at this. Whenever linguistics develop, modern linguistics, this is modern linguistics. What they try to first make a division, understanding. In that sense, how Paninian started language, first division was made. The language you know and language you speak are not the same. Because in speaking or the spoken language, only difference comes. It is according to the time and space. The same sound is pronounced differently in different places by different people. Even the same sound is pronounced different people in the same language according to their habit. So this is what, so differences we find only in the spoken, but not in the language of the knowledge or the language of the mind. So later on, actually after Chomsky wrote these things, he wrote a book now, Language and Mind, those who are, they can read. But what I'm telling that, so modern linguistics began with division of language into langue and parole, or what we call the nitya and karyas, what Chomsky says, competent for purpose. These are all similar. These are all similar. Because unless you, and it is very well clearly stated by Bhartrhari in his Vakyapadya. So Vakyapadya is in 7th century work of Bhartrhari, which explains in detail with examples. So this is the what he brought in, and according to our tradition, this nitya is called this phota. We will be taking in some other time. This is what the idea is. This phota is coming to this language similar, because we cannot always compare as exactly, but they are the concept, the ideas are almost similar, which we get it. Now, when you have now two forms of speech, again you have to read which form, both the forms. Is it possible, or one form? Right? So when you make an analysis, so one has to limit. To make a systematic study, you must have a limit. You must have a scope. You have to limit. Otherwise, unless you limit your data, no scientific theory can be, can be updated. Because unless you are very systematic, so how can you be systematic? Unless you take a group or a group of data or a class of data forms, unless we take them one particular category, it is very difficult. That is why in language, in the analysis of the in the science, what do you do? First thing is they classify the data. Unless you classify them, it is difficult to know the properties of those members or the entities. So whatever elements we want to test, we must first know their limitation. What is, from where it comes, which time it is come. So most of the time, two things which are very specified in Panini's grammar, Bhartrhari has explained all this. So always sthana and kala, that is place and time. Anything that changes, two things are always responsible, is time and space. This is what observed or explained in the terms of synchronic and diachronic. He brought the change, linguistics change came only when Saussure that it is not only language and parole, but also again we study a language. You cannot study the language as a whole. Language spoken thousands years before. You cannot always to study along with the language we study today. The first we have to study is today's language. Then only we can compare with the old language. So this was the basic difference he made. That is, the language to be studied, to be analyzed, it should be studied in two ways. That one he says synchronic. Synchronic means descriptive, and diachronic means historical and comparative, both. So comparative is also historical, because unless you know the history, how can you know what is the root, what is the common meanings? So synchronic, diachronic, the difference was made. Descriptive and historical, what we call, are all observed by, that is first formulated and they classified by Saussure to tell that to study a language. So you can study modern Tamil with modern English or modern. You cannot study modern Tamil with the old English. So when you make a study, this is description is a study of a language of a particular time. When you are making a study of language, you should study language of a particular, unless you say it is 15th century language or 15th century Tamil or 15th century Odia or 16th century Hindi, then your thesis will not be a thesis. Because unless you specified your time, which Hindi you are talking about, which Sanskrit you are talking about, which Russian you are. So any language we know, we study them. Unless you study them of a particular period of time, you will not be able to find out the reality or the truth. What is the origin of the language? So this is what synchronic description means, the study of a language of a particular time. It is unless you make a study of a particular time, it is difficult to give justice or analyze the language in a logical manner, or you cannot call it science or linguistics. Another is the diachronic means, dia means two, diachronic means study of language between 2 points of time, the old and new. So you say unless you can know old Tamil, you cannot study. When you compare old first with new, it becomes a comparative study, that is diachronic. So that is what the diachronic study is. One way it is also historical, because you cannot compare a language, its past and present, unless you know the history. So history of grammar is always important to establish the base, and modern grammar will try to only explain what are the changes, where the change has taken place. That's why you call it modern. So synchronic and diachronic, or descriptive and historical, was the first concept given by Saussure for linguistic studies. Whereas, as I told you earlier, Panini, when we compare, Panini's grammar is complete in what sense? It has talked about langue and parole, nitya and prayoga. At the same time, it accommodates both. Synchronic, a descriptive grammar, definitely, but it has also accommodated the old Sanskrit, that is Vedic language. So most of the, wherever there is variation, he refers to Chandas. Chandas means Veda. He says Bahulam Chandasi. Sutra is very popular. There are so many sutras. We'll also give it in due course. So that means it accommodates both synchro and direct, not only synchronic or only diachronic. So that way it has accommodated how to study descriptive and where the historical fact, the changes take place, that he has tried to point out. So in that sense, he has taken both. So what is complete, according to me, that he has tried to complete what is to be done actually, and he has made of his time the language. Then another, what the next is, the third point he insisted or emphasized is, slide please, the third method or the third point here highlighted. Yes, the slide please. Syntactic and paradigmatic. Deepa, slide is not come. Anyway, just note down, we'll be sending you the slide. Syntagmatic and paradigmatic. So what does it mean? So when you study a language, so if I will again refer you to look at the sentences we gave in the second group, Can you show it? So that is Rama Gruham Gacchati. Dasarati Gruham Gach. Yeah, some technical problem. No problem. I am just repeating. All the sentences are with you. Always keep this sentence. These are the core sentences. Rama Gruham Gacchati. Dasarati Gruham Gacchati. Sitapati. These forms which are used. So what do we find there? So Rama is replaced by Dasarathi. He is replaced again by Sitapati. He is also replaced by as a Sasaka or the ruler. So what does it mean? How can you do that? They represent one meaning or different meanings. But you are using different words in one group. The changes are only in the first word. So how it is possible? How it is one? So the forms are different, but they represent one person, one meaning. This is how one becomes many. When? So this is what is represented. Now what you find here? This is called a paradigm. Paradigm means when words are used in, and it is very popular in Sanskrit because all the Sabdarupas, Dhaturupas, you get them in the like table now. This is called paradigm. Paradigm means when they comes one next to the other in the, in a below, in a vertical line. Or yes. So what we find is that, so Ramaha, Dasarathi. So these words are substituted only in a different form to express the same meaning. So that's why there is a similarity among them. That's why there is a similarity among them. Next, please. Yeah. Oh no, 1 minute, sorry. So this paradigm, so before that, syntagmatic and paradigmatic. So this is called paradigm. So that means the relation between words are one way paradigmatic. Means they are appearing in a paradigm. The similarities can be observed between words in a paradigm. And these words, when used in the sentence, in a, what you can say that. So what is what you call the syntagmatic? What is syntagmatic? Now, paradigm means when word comes below in the same place, which can be substituted. They are substitutable. We call adeshas. Just like one word replaced by another word. It is only in paradigm possible. But when you are writing a sentence, there is no paradigmatic. Why? Now, if you look at this, you can say the cat ate a fish. You cannot say, though cat and fish both are noun, you can say cat ate a fish, but a fish ate a cat, you do not say. Why? In one way, in paradigm, both are nouns. But when you make a sentence, it is not that the same noun can be used, so they cannot be substituted. So there comes the rule. There comes the grammar. This is called syntax. Syntax means the structure of sentence. Structure means how words are used in a sentence. We know everybody's sentence, no? Can you use any word in any sentence? Can anybody use any word in any language? We cannot just use.
No, sir.
Why? So there is a, there is something beyond our, there is a rule. There is a system built within. It is not our rule. The rule is already existing. People are using, following. But so that rule, which is known or which is not known to us, but we are using it. So when you do research, what is research actually? In a general sense, it is going from known to unknown. Whatever you use, you believe that it is true. On what basis? Because there is something behind you can explain. Yes. So this is how a language moves from known to unknown. So in a syntax, what is happening? How the words are used. It is not that all words can be used in any sentence. It is not that in a sentence, any word can be used in any place. Possible? Is it possible to use any word in the sentence in any place?
No, sir.
So who stopped you? Why you cannot? If you believe that you are the master of language, you can change anything, no? So master of language does not mean to just know the language, but you must know the use of the language. Use means the rule of the language. Unless there is a rule, you cannot use. So there is a definitely a rule which stops you not to use any word anywhere you like. So there comes the niyama, what you call the restrictions. Unless there is a niyama, you cannot write what is a rule, why you need a rule. So if you understand the syntagmatic paradigm, that means every sentence, the words follow or words are used in two ways, in two kinds of relations. Once in paradigmatic relations, when they come under one group and when they are used in substitution form. Another is in a syntactic manner, means how they come with other word in which place. Yes? Yeah, Bhavani. Please tell. No, your hand is raised. Okay. We'll come to that. We'll come. Yes?
Yes. In poem form,
Yeah.
the places of words, they change different. I mean, they come differently as they come in prose form. So there is a possibility of this change of position of words in a sentence in two forms, prose
No,
and poem.
see, this is only possible in poetry.
Poetry, yes.
Because poetry, you can begin sentence with what you call the verb. Kalidasu is famous for that. Susru soslu gurun. First, you obey your or say serve your elders. We'll come to that. So basic idea is that in prose you do not, but in poetry it is, because nirankusha kavayaha. Because the Kabis have no power to be controlled. They are the controller of everybody. But grammar, the grammatical relations. See, we are talking about, though we can change the order in Sanskrit, is called a flexible language, but the meaning is understood only when you write in prose form. This is a normal order. See, you can change things according to the language concerned, but when you understand the language, you follow the syntactic order. Ramaha Gruham Gachati is the normal order. You may say Gachati Rama Gruham possible in spoken form, but not what you understand. When you're writing a rule, it is a rule of the language, that is the language that is you understand.
Okay.
In spoken form, we make variations. You have options. But in the form that is written in your mind, not in the book. That is which makes the sense, which gives you the meaning. For getting the meaning of sentence, this is the order, normal order. Ramaha Gruham Gachati. Ram is going home, English order. But when you speak it according to poetry or anywhere context, many things are happening. This is called the style. When you spoken forms, you can use your style. But in the written form, style is not accepted or used. When you say use means when you use, you understand. So there is a rule. Where is the rule? The rule is there. You first fix. You first know which should go with what. You have subject predicate, no. What we say generally, Uddeshya Vidhaya or Karta Kriya. We'll come to that. So this is what the change that we find only in the spoken form, but not exactly in the understanding of the language. What we are talking is about the normal order of a language. Normal order in a sentence. You said we took no in the first day. So SOB, subject, object, verb, is our Indian languages order. What does it mean? It is a normal. You can change in our language. Okay, aham gruham gachami, gachami gruham aham. Possible, because of how it is possible, that also will come. But in normal order, to get the meaning, the normal order is subject, object, verb. Whereas in English, it is subject, verb. So if you go by structure, that is where the structure comes. Rules are followed in structure. You cannot build anything without following certain rules. When you talk of rules, they are all related to structure. You cannot have a rule without a structure. So we are talking of the rule that forms the language, that generates the language, how the meaning is understood in a normal, in a general sense. There are exceptions everywhere, but the exceptions comes more in the spoken form. That is why linguists, we are going to tell that how they are insisting. I will show you difference between comparative trilogy and modern linguistics. So syntagmatic and paradigmatic relations. Try to will be more three points he brought out, which are very much which concern with our Panini's grammar. Also, that also will be trying to whenever we come. Next, please. So this is what modern language. Then what is difference between, as I told now, they both, that means the traditional grammar and contemporary linguistics. They give importance, priority to written language, written and spoken, both in many cases. Whereas modern linguistics gives priority to only spoken language. That's why those who are doing linguistics, they don't like to talk about historical linguistics. But they do not know from where you got this. If there is a change, when it change takes place, why the change is. So unless you have the background, you don't know now why, when the actually what is the change that has taken place. So it depends how you look at it. So modern linguists try to more only focus on the spoken language, but not on the written language. So the grammar written for spoken, all the linguistic theories, you will find that most of them are written on spoken language, but not the historical aspect or the written language, right? The next. So this is what we mean the differences between this is we have completed. This is what also we have completed. Okay, now what we find in this then comes when he made these things. Even you say it is synchronic. What you are how you know it is synchronic, or when do you start again? So when you study a language, whether it's synchronic, diachronic, now how to approach language? From where you should start? From the meaning or from the sound? When we speak a language or any sentence we utter, we utter the sentences. When we utter only some sounds, you know it is a word or a sentence. But when do you utter? From where it comes? So there is something that makes you to utter, no? Ucharika. So the question is, when you talk of a language, we start with it, say we have the sounds, we have the words and sentence and meaning. So where you should start? According to our grammatical tradition, Panini began with first meaning. Meaning always represents the sentence structure. The sentence is Vakyartha is pradhana. Sentence. Unless you have a sentence in your mind, unless you have fixed the words in their prospective meaning, unless you fix the word in the proper order, you are not able to utter a sentence or any sound. So utterance precedes the language, rules of the language, the formation of the language, or the structure of the language. So structure is very much present in our mind, what we call that, because unless you know the rules, you are not able to speak a word. You don't ask questions. Why? You only nod your head. Because many people do not express, because they are not sure which word to be used and when to be used, where it is to be used. So even you have the language, you are not able to communicate properly. What is communication? It is the conveying the meaning, the ideas or bhava through particular sounds. But unless you know the relation between meaning and sound, how you are going to communicate? So this is the basic problem or the basic difference between our traditional grammars and the linguistics. As I told you, they start with spoken language, no? So spoken language means the sounds that is uttered first. So they give priority to the sounds. They start the analysis of language from the sounds. The study of sounds, though it's the same method in grammar, that is when they study a sound, how to study a sound, what is there to be studied. So one is, what is a sound? How many types of sounds? What is the origin of sounds? And what is the change of a sound? There are always four aspects. Every sound we use in our languages, they have a background, the history that which sound you are talking about, how many places it is used, or how many changes it takes, and what meaning it has or not. Sound has a meaning or not. These are the basic questions to be studied about a sound. So when you say about a language, first you start with about a sound. So in modern linguistics, they start with the about a sound. This is what called, this is they call it is a phonology or phonetics, phonetics and phonology. Phonetic phonology, the first they take as the ground to start with the study of the language. That is how many sounds, from where, how they are pronounced. So all these sounds which are used by human beings are to be studied first. Then only you can proceed further, because it is the sounds that make a word. So it is sounds that make a word. So though we talk traditionally the word sound and word and sentence and meaning, but linguistics you don't use these words. So in place of sounds they use phonetics or phonology or phoneme. They make difference. Phonetics, study of sound, means origin of sound, the place of sounds, then also the variations of the sounds. Unless you know the all these aspects of a particular sound, it is difficult to know whether it is one or many. So this is what phonetics and phonetics more about description of sound, and phonology means the change of sounds. When do sound changes? Under what condition? So though they have made this, but in Paninian tradition, this has been very, very basic. Now what we are talking the sound, which sound we are talking about? Any sound we know, or only particular sounds? Look at they have changed the word phonetics. Why? From sound, they have used the word phonetics. So when we will come to that phonetics, I will be taking together. So look at this, the change of terminology. For us, one word, sabda. But technically, we say dhvani. In poetics, in philosophy, Panini does not say it is. He doesn't also use the word sabda. He has used the word sabda, but in a different, we'll come to that. So what we find that here terminology is difference. That is phonetics and phonology, I will explain, which deals with about origin of sound, types of sound, place of utterances and variations, changes. These changes, how it is, how many changes are there, how you will explain. It is first, if you will find that, Panini does not say this, in clear terms. He only has made the sutras. It is only Patanjali's who brought to us, we highlighted that what is grammar. Panini doesn't say what is grammar. Panini doesn't say what is a sound. Only Patanjali brings to us. Patanjali only establishes the utility of grammar, what is grammar, and also what is a sound and how sound is to be studied. The changes. So for our traditional grammar, Panini's grammar, sound is studied in three ways. There are three only ways. There are three types of rules. What are these rules? These are the basic principle of any grammar, of our traditional grammar. What Patanjali gives is lopa, agama, vikara. If there is a change of a sound, what type of change? Only three types of changes you can notice. That is lopa, mean deletion, agama, insertion, and vikara, modification. Any sound used in our languages, in any language, they have changed in three forms only. That is, either it is deleted, either it is modified, or something is inserted. But then question comes, where it happens, in any place. So for sabda is also divided, a word is divided, the sound is changed only in three places. This lopa, agama, and vikara takes place maximum only in three places. So every word is given a place. A sound, when it is used in a word, it takes three places. It can be used in three places, which are also fixed by Panini. That is adi, anta, and madhya. Whether it is the beginning of a word, whether it is the middle of the word, or whether it is the end of the word. So any sound used in a language, within a word, either it is used only in three places. So the changes can be seen only in the context of these three. So whether a sound changes in the beginning or middle, or this has been very much clearly Panini had stated in his rules. We are going to say you. So this is what importance is when you say change, where the change takes place and where. So that also we are going to analyze. So the whatever the phonetics phonology takes about, we will also see that how Panini made it. But as I told you, the sound system of a language all refer to sounds, any sound or particular sounds. This also phonetics also describes what Panini first emphasizes. He will particularly explains it. Which sabda we are analyzing? Any language, any sound we make, or the particular sounds we use. Which sounds actually we are using? Only sounds which are, always remember, it is the sounds which we utter. Ucharita sabda. Only sounds which are uttered by human mouth only can be classified, analyzed, and described. Sounds which are not articulated are just fixed in one meaning or two, they do not make any change. Like the sounds of a bird. A bird can make many sounds, but they are fixed in their particular context. That is why animal language differs from the human language. Human language is only, it is very ucharita. When you utter a sound, you make difference, types of it. So it is called the articulated sounds, what is called in linguistics. What they say articulation is established by our grammatical tradition. Patanjali has first made it ucharita sabda, sound which is uttered. Okay, so this is what how phonetics and phonology, the first branch of linguistics. But then next, how phonemes makes actually word. Word again is not used in the linguistics. What you are using is morpheme. Morpheme. This is called morphology. Morphology is called the structure of words. What is morphology? Morphology means talking about, again same, the origin of a word, the type of word, place of utterances, and also variations. How the same word differs. How the same word get different forms, when it changes, and where it changes. This is called morphology, the structure of words. Then next is the sentence, which is called the syntax. This is the most important of the language, the syntax, which talks about the structure of a sentence, not word. Syntax is structure of sentence. How a sentence, why it is a sentence? It is also used with words. So there is a level which is different from the word, how the words are used, the place where they are used, it makes some meaning difference. So there is always, whether the word makes the sentence or sentence makes the word is a matter of always discussion. Whether that also will see that how sentence is used, how grammatical rules are framed to explain the difference also. Whether word is first or sentence is first. And last, whatever change we get, whatever difference we find, how do you get the difference? The basic concept is difference takes place when, only when there is a difference in meaning. Unless there is a difference in meaning, we do not consider it is a change. So all that change we find in language, the beginning is, the main reason is the meaning difference. Unless you have the difference in meaning, you don't find the difference in the words or sentences. But now, if you look at this, when you talk of all languages today, then what we find, how you are able to talk all languages or communicate, because meaning remains same. Just like say, Rama Gurvam Gacchati, Ram is going home, Ram Ghar ko jata hai. All the sentence we have given you. This is why I gave these sentences is, let these three be always with you. Look at this. These are the core sentences, basic sentences of a language. If these basic sentences, three types, you understand, then whole thing is at your fingertip or say tip of the tongue, that you cannot make mistake. All other forms that are only a change of these basic sentences. That's why I call them core sentences or the core grammar. So that is our objective, is to find out a core grammar for our languages. Now everybody is writing grammars in different way, descriptive, history, but we must know the core structure of the language. And the language unit allows syntax. Then next stage is semantics. Semantics talks about the meanings. Semantics, the word, again, they are not using the word meaning, the word is used as linguistically semantics. But for us, it is artha. So we'll see that how meaning is important in understanding a language or speaking a language. Why change takes place? When do you make the change? According to your choice, or it is the language. If you want to convey meaning, so you have to follow the rules of the language. It is not that language is followed by you, follows you. So always look at that. But this, the way it has been put, was phonology, morphology, syntax, and semantics. So in Paninian tradition, it is just opposite. You start with meaning. So artha is given the primacy. Without meaning, you cannot have a sentence. Without sentence, you cannot have words. And without words, you cannot have the sound. So all the sound utterance that we get, it is all after the meaning is fixed, after the structure of the sentence is fixed, after the words are also used with their particular forms, what you call the vibhaktis, will come to know. So then only you utter a sound, no? A sound is not just like that, it is coming through a process. So that is why if you look at this, only the middle two parts, the morphology and syntax, is called the grammar. Not the semantics. In linguistics, they have excluded phonology and semantics from grammar. Grammar for linguistics means only morphology and syntax. Whereas in our tradition, in Paninian tradition, whole thing is a compact. It is a package. The grammar deals with all the aspects in Indian tradition, that is Paninian tradition. You cannot talk of a sound without a word. You cannot talk of a word without sentence. You cannot talk of a sentence without a meaning. How can you separate them? So there is the difference, that how linguistics try to do spoken language without considering meaning as an important factor. So that is why we get variation. There is always deficiencies in their linguistic theories. Different theories are only developed in different aspects, but without giving importance to the meaning, for which you get so many theories. Since Panini's grammar take all the four aspects as the complete package. In that sense, it is a complete grammar. Complete grammar means it takes the complete all aspects of the language as a whole. Language is not dividable according to us. Language is one. It is just a one sound, what is called the atom of the sentences. We call this photo theory is there only in vocabulary in Panini's tradition, what Patanjali started, that there is one sound. The sound means sound with meaning, sabdartha, nitya sabdartha sambandhaha. So it is eternal. The relation between sound and meaning is eternal. It has been established by both Trimunis. Nitya sabdartha sambandhaha samamnataha maharsivihi. They are called maharsis. Sutranang sanutantranang bhashyanang cha pranetruvi. Those who have composed or those who have explained the sutras, sutrakara, and bhakyakara is Bararuchi, that is Katyayana, and bhashyakara is Patanjali. They are called maharsis. It is all there in the Bhartrihari's Bhakyapadya. He has said that all these three munis have accepted the eternal relations between sound and meaning. He has also given one word, it is our Indian philosophy, that Bhartrihari gives in verse 124 in Brahmakanda. No so asti pratyayaha loke. That is not known in this earth, loke. That is not known, understood in this earth. No so asti pratyayaha means jnana, loke. Sabdam anagamatrute, without relating to a sound. Here sabda means it can be sound, word or sentence for us. Without relating to a sound, there is no artha, no pratyayaha. No so asti pratyayaha loke. In this earth, in this world, that is not known, that doesn't exist unless it is related to the sound. Anubiddham iva jnanam, the knowledge of objects or things, they are anubiddham. The sound and meaning are always anubiddham jnanam, it is related to the knowledge. Anubiddham iva jnanam sarvam sabdena bhashate. We shall bhasa, no? Bhasate, prakasate. Bhasa is a prakasa. What is prakasa? What is manifested? The relationship between sound and meaning. So nothing exists on this earth. Na so asti pratyaya loke. Sabdam anagamadrute. Without anugama means following. Without relating to a sound, nothing exists. No meaning. So meaning sound are inseparable. We get in say Raghuvamsa Kalidasa starts with Vagartha Iva Samprukto, Vagartha Pratipattaye, Jagataha Pitarau Bande, Parvati Parameshwaru, Pitarau. Parvati are always in Divachana. You cannot use them in single. Because parents may be a singular word for English. For us, it is always Divachana, Pitarau. It is speciality of Sanskrit. Why you need Divachana? We will talk on that. So this is what the concept of language. That there is a spota. He said, we will be explaining what word theory tells you and how grammar is a complete package. How far it is complete. According to my mind, whatever has been said, unless we understand the concept of language, the structure of the language and the philosophy of language, it is not complete. It is, we get in Panini's grammar, a complete package. Semantics and sounds are closed, inseparable, nitya sambandha, which are not understood or accepted in the modern linguistics. So that is the basic difference between our traditional grammar, Paninian grammar. But we have the same aspect, same structure, but the relation or the difference is, where do you start? The starting point, your understanding differs. Our understanding is one. Without meaning, we cannot utter a single word. So that is all the concept of language as you find with the Panini system. Why Panini linguistics? Why it is Paninian linguistics? So Panini is not a mere grammar, it is more linguistic than just a grammar. And it includes both Vedic and the classical language. And what is complete is, it completes all the linguistic aspects, whether it is phonology, morphology, syntax, and semantics. So all these are used with one word, Sabda Anusasana. Sabda means you have the sound, phonology, talking about the origin, development, variation of the sound. Morphology means structure of words. The structure of words is first made by Panini. And all that we get, I think one Madhavi was telling, you will see that all are in binary relations. The immediate constituent relation, what is Chomsky is telling, immediate constituent, you will find that the meaning sound are not just separated, not just here and there, they are always understood in binary relations. We will try to also explain when we come to phonology, morphology, and syntax. So I hope for today's I have tried to give you, some of you, the concept of development of linguistics in 3 stages. One is traditional grammar, second is comparative linguistics, and third is the modern linguistics. And these 3 stages have taken today, whatever we have reached this stage, all are reflected in our Paninian system, and how Panini's grammar is linguistic and how he has made the structures we will be showing in the due course. I hope from the next class we will start the Ashtadhyayi, and Ashtadhyayi is available in the Google, so anybody can get the Ashtadhyayi, and the first part is Shiva Sutra. Try to get it, try to read it, try to find out if you understand anything, then we will talk about Ashtadhyayi from the next class, next Saturday. So with this, I thank you for your patient hearing. I have tried to explain as much I know, most possible. If there is any correction, I think Dr. Madhavi is there, then Dr. Bhaskar is there, those who have done linguistics. So they will be happy, I'll be happy if they can correct or add something. We'll try. We should, share with our knowledge. What is best known to me, I have tried to present you, and I am trying to see Panini as a great linguist, as a greatest monument of human intelligence. To what extent we will try to experiment and analyze in due course. So from next class we'll start Ashtadhyayi. Get ready, get the books. It is in the Google. You can get the sutras, you get Sutra Patha. All things I'll be talking. And with these Shiva Sutras, try to get it and try to read it, have a look. Let us see, and we'll begin from next Saturday. So now for today, the class is over. So it is open for any discussion. If you have any question, anybody can ask. Yes, please.
Sir, namaskaram, sir. Namaskaram. Sir, regarding, you said that Ucharita Shabda, sir, the only articulated sounds, it can be analyzed, sir. And you gave an example like the sound of the birds, it is different, sir. Even, but in practical, sir, like when a dog barks, or when a bird it gives its sound, sir, we are able to understand something, sir, that it is hungry, or some person is coming, or something like that, sir. Is there any science which has recorded
yeah, it is also
the
there.
sounds of these birds or animals, sir?
So as I told you, I will just explain again what has happened. So when you say talking of linguistics or grammar, see, every sound has a meaning. Birds have sounds, but their sounds are limited. Their sounds are not unambiguous. Sorry, they are not ambiguous. They make particular sound in a particular context, a particular time. So when you use the language, why you need grammar?
To understand
what?
Systematically.
Language which is used by us through Ucharana, you find differences. It becomes ambiguous. The objective of the grammar is to disambiguate. Asandehartham adhyayam vyakaranam. In animal language, you don't have doubts. They are fixed. If child is crying, you know he is hungry. Okay. If a dog is barking, somebody has entered. See, their meanings are fixed. They are not doubtful. Grammar is written only to clear the doubts. When you have sandeha only, you need somebody's help. You need niyama. What for? So the change takes place because of certain regions. So the change, so in sounds of the animal do not change. They are fixed. But only human sounds change. Same ka is pronounced in Tamil, ga, kha, ga, gha. When all we have 5 varnas, say 5 sounds in each varga, each class. In Tamil you have only ka and wa. 2 are only there. So kha, ga, gha are not there, but they are pronounced. They will say Magha Bharata. They will say Kagam. Right or wrong? Everything is right, but we have to understand. So your doubt comes, whether it is 1 or 2 sounds. So whenever doubt comes, that's why you need grammar or linguistics to explain the unambiguity. So language should be unambiguous, then only communication will be proper, otherwise there will be fighting, no? Immediately you start. Yes, sir, we are Kaga is also correct. We will say Kako is correct, then which one is correct? So there the doubt comes, when the debate comes, when the fighting comes, then grammarian is required to know whenever anybody problems. So in any language, so far as I know, so what they will ask me first, whether Panini said this. Okay, look at this. Because they come to Panini at the last resort. So that is all that, because a grammarian has studied and explained what is ambiguity, how ambiguity should be discerned. Asandehartham adhyayam vyakaranam, and second is lagvartham. It must be brevity. So human language is packed with these 2 aspects, both linguistics and grammar, more focus on these 2 aspects of the language, that is brevity, lagvartham, and asandehartham. So all the rules used in our languages mainly used to disambiguate our doubts. Otherwise, why should you go to grammar? But we use language, we study language, we read literature without knowing grammar, means you create more doubts and create doubts with others also, because you don't know the truth. Only a grammarian can tell the truth, what is right, what is wrong. So this is the main objective of the grammar. Asandehartham adhyayam vyakaranam. Lagvartham adhyayam vyakaranam. Panini did not say this. It is said by Patanjali only. Because Panini was very sutra oriented, very codification only. But all these explanations are given by Patanjali in 2nd century BC, because unless you know grammar, people ask now, why do you need grammar? What is the use of grammar? So he has Patanjali has given 5 usages of grammar, 5 utilities that we will be talking when we come to that. Yes, Bhavani was asking question. Yes, please, Bhavani Shankar, please.
I wanted to ask which book, which author should we prefer for Ashtadhyayi? No,
Sir, yours is in mute, sir. Sir.
not audible.
I have read whatever books I have read from my research period. I have tried with it. First book I read is Language of Bloomfield, right? Then I came and read also Chomsky, but by that time I had studied grammar in my MA. So I wanted to see where is the greatest monument, what is the monument. So then, when I studied with grammar, studying language, but you must know what it is. So there is a small book called Grammar by R. Palmer, Palmer. M.A.R. Palmer wrote a book, Grammar. Here he has explained there that why word is not used in linguistics, why you need morpheme, why the word sound is not used in the linguistics, why it is called phoneme or phonology, why it is called syntax. So the change of terminology, why you need. I will be explaining when time comes. So for that, there are so many books. So read this Palmer, read this also if you get a, and for all this history of linguistics, there is only one book, very small book, A Short History of Linguistics by R.H. Robbins. He's a great linguist who has written only this linguistic book, Descriptive Linguistics, but he has written a short history of linguistics where he has explained, he has brought down from Indian tradition to the modern tradition all the development that has taken place. If you read A Short History of Linguistics by R.H. Robbins, and it is also soft copy is available online, anyone can find out, try to read that. And for all these things, as I told you before you go to Chomsky, we are not going to Chomsky. We are only trying to compare this, how these two trends, two different Paninian tradition and linguistic analysis, how they go together. We do not say one influenced the other, but Bloomfield says this, that he brought the liberation because of, but it is for our understanding. I am not telling what he has said. I am only presenting, and nothing is mine. But let us read and assess judge ourselves what grammar means, what Panini means, and what linguistics means today. So that will be our main goal. So I will try to. Any other question, if it is time permits? Yes. Panini, yeah, Short History of Linguistics by R.H. Robbins. Please try. It is available soft copy. Yes. Anybody else? Archive details Deepa is giving you. Any other question, please? Niharika, can I ask you? Because you are having webinars, seminars, so many things. Niharika, please.
Sorry, sir. At the moment, no. But,
okay.
I just for next class, you said we should Ashtadhyayi. You said the first chapter we should have.
First chapter, I will talk why it is called Ashtadhyayi, what is the beginning, the Shiva Sutras. We'll first start with Shiva Sutra. Okay. As you know, this Akshara Samamnaya, try to get it from the website and everything, sorry, in the Google, you will get it all. Keep it always with you, take a print out. Just look at what is said, how it is said, how does it differ from all other grammars. See, he has made something in this, the Akshara Samamnaya, which is different from all our grammars. As we know today, how the sounds are arranged in our grammar books, including English. But in Panini has a total deviation that you note. And why he did, how he did, we'll also discuss there in the next class. Okay? But this is all a background that to study Panini, we need in the present context. How does it, relevant, how does it require? My goal is, as I have mentioned earlier, we will try to connect all our languages because all our Indian grammars are written mostly. And actually, one thing I will try to make that when I'm talking of core, now linguistic analysis takes place at two levels. One at the micro level, another is the macro level. In the micro, this linguistic division, phonology, morphology, syntax are only micro analysis. It is only at the micro level. But the same linguistics, when it is applied, you get applied linguistics, mathematical linguistics, then you have psycholinguistics, then you have what do you call that, discourse and all other aspects, even sociolinguistics. So there are many other linguistics which are deviated from the micro, but they use the same principle to explain the different sets of society. When it's a sociolinguistics, you find how a society is divided, how a society is formed. How many in social linguistics you study female language, you child language, even the language of a particular group. So the social linguistics will be also very, most of the people work on macro linguistics. This is called macro linguistics. Micro linguistics is only these four aspects, which is more akin to the Panini's grammar. But macro linguistics, which are using in studying in different aspects of the society, are also there in Panini, but we are not going to the macro aspect. But again, micro and macro makes the complete grammar. Panini has accommodated both. We have also dialect analysis. We have also sociolinguistics. Everything is there in Panini. And how do we know? So there is a book called India as Known to Panini. India as Known to Panini is by Agrawal. That also you will get in the, what do you call that? In Google, everything is available. Ask on Panini, you will get all examples. And most of the reference you can get from the Cardona's book, that is Introduction to Panini. If you read the first volume published by MLBD, so you will get more details about that. We can only discuss more. If you come with reading, we will be able to discuss, and I will try to clarify as much I know. So this is what the whole thing, that is what a complete grammar, and how micro and macro are also included in Panini's grammar. But we will try to first explain, understand what is micro, and how in micro level our grammar is similar to that linguistic development today. Yes, so that is all today. Anybody? Yes, known Panini Agrawala. You will get that. So anything else, or will? So we'll. I think there is no other question. Let us. Yes, sir. Satpati sir, any doubt? Any question? Whatever is said, try to think, understand. Bhaskar, please. Bhaskar is there. Dr. Bhaskar. Madhavi, you wanted to ask, please. Madhavi.
All clear.
All okay. Madhavi.
Thank you, sir.
No.
Everything is clear today, sir.
Try maximum. So that is what is given is as found in the whatever I have read, I have understood. I am trying to share only. See that our tradition, how far it is going together, and how much we can establish. And I think our Russian friend, please help us. I have given you some examples from Russia. It also comes under Indo-European language, and since Indo-Aryan is also a part of Indo-European, it will be easy for communicating us. And I request all of you to give your sentence in your language. For all the sentences I have given, we have given now in the first lecture and second lecture. Try to always keep your mind. My aim is we must write a core grammar of Indian languages. That is all my objective, that all language speakers should participate. The linguists are there. So let us see how far it is relevant and how Panini made it possible. Is it because he did not know whether he will study grammar or not, because 5th century, nobody knew, and even Patanjali brought in 2nd century, why he made so much. But still, we are feeling that we are at home, we are justified, we are logical, our grammar is there. For any doubt, we come to Panini and whether a linguist. So, but if we read it, we will have at least that our tradition is more stronger and more complete. We have given a complete study of the language. So that is how Bloomfield told. So this is all my request. All of you, please keep engage yourself. First, think more, try to study more, and let us build a good grammar. Let us see that how best we can do. That is only our goal is to have this degree, not to, and the fees are not made for anything. It is made for, we are trying to create one scholarship for Paninian studies, Panini scholarship for comparative studies of Panini with any language or with any philosophy. Even we have the philosophy of grammar first in Sanskrit in 7th century AD, given by Bhartrihari, that is Vakyapadya. That also will be taking after in the next stage. Next phase will go. Okay, English grammar or philosophy of grammar written by Jesperson. If you see that, he first wrote in 18th century, 19th century, because it is very late. But the first grammar written in philosophy. If you read the history of linguistics, you will get also all these details, how linguistics developed, how grammatical tradition laid the foundation. This will be our, we are going to connect each other. maximum possible. Whichever language we know, let us know that we are all are same. We speak one language, we know one language, but speak only in different tones and different forms. So that is all should always our objective to that. Thank you. So let us. Okay, Deepa, please.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, sir. Namaskar.
So Deepa will share my
Thank
number.
you.
Those who have any doubt, please call. Let us see how best we can. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I'll email it.
Thank you.